heartbreaking night for Mauricio Pochettino and the U.S. men's national team. A very convincing win for Rudy Garcia's men in Seattle over the USA. Let's bring in our Jurgen Klinsmann, who is joining us for this one to get immediate reaction. Let's have a look at the match stats first, because as I said, if we looked at the odds heading into this one, guys, we know that the USA were favorites in this one, but it looked like, of course, Belgium were the ones who put quite a humbling on the USA in this one. Jurgen, let me come to you first and just your thoughts on what went wrong for the USA, or is it more what went right for Belgium?
Well, definitely it does. If you have a result like this and a disappointment like this, then obviously there are a lot of things that went wrong. But first and foremost, you got to give Belgium a huge compliment how they played this game, how professional, how focused, and how determined they were from the start on. From the first second on, they dictated the tempo, they set the tone, they were ahead of the curve, they won their one-against-one battles without making too much fuss of it. It was really interesting to see how professional they executed all their maneuvers and their game plan. They had a plan, and obviously it helps then to go 1-0 up, even then came the equalizer. But it seemed like even the equalizer didn't really bother them much. You know, they kept their way of playing. They were in control. They were really in control all 90 minutes, and they deserved this win. They deserved to go through. And for the US team, this is a game that, when you analyze it now in the aftermath, that's a lot you can take away from, you learn from. But obviously, in this moment, at that time, in a big tournament like this, it's also a huge disappointment.
A huge disappointment indeed, a humbling disappointment, I suppose I would say. Jermaine, Herc, of course, we were here for the pre-show on Football Americas, and I was asking you guys, you sure we cannot just overlook this Belgium team? Because I feel like, given what has transpired in the last couple of days, they will be playing with a chip on their shoulder. We saw a different side of them when they fought back as well against Senegal. But still, what did you make of the performance today from the U.S.?
Well, it's what Rudy Garcia, the Belgian manager, did against the U.S. that really neutralized Mauricio Pochettino in his tactical movements that were so effective for the U.S. men's national team in the earlier games. When you have a Weston McKennie and Malik Tillman that are so mobile with his Serginho Dest, he adds more legs. It's Raskin Onana, and then he adds Luke Bacchio, attacking the side of Tim Ream, attacking the side of an Anthony Robinson. So they are pinned in. So Anthony Robinson can't drive forward. He took the legs out of the U.S. men's national team. And once they struck first, which was a staple of the U.S. men's national team, to strike in those first 10 minutes, it really knocked the wind out of the U.S. men's national team. And you saw just terrible individual performances from big players at the worst possible moment. Serginho Dest was the worst player on the field, and Mauricio Pochettino took him out at halftime. A player who was constantly losing the ball, who may have been at fault for one, if not two goals. The ball he lets bounce, the first goal. The second goal that Trossard torches him. And then Tim Ream, one of the more reliable ball-playing backs, is not a defending center back. And I know that sounds silly to say, but he's there because he does certain things with the ball at his foot. Gets dunked on by De Keller. Gets posterized. And you're in the hole. You're behind the eight ball before the game even has a chance to get going. And then other players don't show up. Christian Pulisic comes off injured. You give up silly goals. The first time that Matt Freese gets tested in this World Cup is minute 1. The second time is him playing out of the back, gets his pocket picked, and Tim Ream can't bail him out, and it's the third goal. It was one error after another that snowballed and sent the U.S. men's national team into a psyche that they could never overcome.
JJ, when it was 2-1 to Belgium, you looked at me and you said there's more goals coming in this, but for Belgium as well. What didn't the U.S. get right after that?
You know, if you watch it, I think the game was an open game and the U.S. was in the game. They had good possession, but that doesn't mean a lot, especially in games when you play against teams like Belgium, because you know they have the individual quality. And I think what I don't like was that in general, in the complete country, we were talking, or everybody was talking, Belgium down. We talked about 3 guys. They're too old, they're not playing, and this and that. And that is the issue. And this team from Belgium showed up and proved you again. That's the 7th, now was the 8th game you played against Belgium. And you don't win 7. The last one was 1930 you won against them. And you come out and you play with kind of an I would say, an arrogant way from the public and everything. I will not put it even on the players, but from the outside. And now you're losing this game. And you see how you're losing it. Lukaku at the end, he scores and he puts it up. You guys talking too much. So that's the signal for that. You know, and I'm always said that, and I said it before, that's a good generation of players. But why is so much hype behind it? They're not achieved anything. We, most of the time, this country went out round of 16. So now we're out of round of 16. So we have to talk about it. And like Jurgen said, you will look back and you will be like, okay, we can work on it. We can get better for the next one. But we said that already in Qatar. So, you know, then we went out again. So, and now we go in this one. Now you have to look and you have to sit down and have real conversation. Because in this game today was, for me, Tielemans was the main guy where you can see that there's a difference, that he stepped it up, he was trying, he was battling, but at the end, like you said, there was a couple guys where I said, and I was one of the guys who said before the tournament, I don't see Ream as a defender for this team in this situation and this time where we right now are. He played, and today you will get proven.
Jurgen, do you feel there was a bit of that, a bit of overhyping for the team based on the results that we have seen when really and truly they weren't tested at the level that we wanted to see them tested?
Well, I think the overhyping or, the high expectations came automatically through their fantastic performance in the first game against Paraguay. These 45 minutes, 60 minutes against Paraguay gave us all the feeling that we are ready for more. We are ready for competing with the best in the world. And there's a team that will maybe be able to grow game by game. But unfortunately, it didn't happen then afterwards. They can play definitely on a very high level, which they showed. But the key in a tournament like this is consistency. And if you want to go really far, then this type of consistency should actually grow and getting better and better game by game, like the big teams usually do in a tournament like that. Not all, obviously, did that. Other teams went home earlier, like Germany, Holland, even Brazil now went home, and there are big disappointments in this tournament. I think, the team kind of set the bar so high with their first game against Paraguay that afterwards they were not able anymore to keep that level. And now they go out this way, which was basically, it was a lesson by Belgium, unfortunately, and then it brings you back to the ground. So you can talk about a certain overhype, but that overhype came automatically after the performance against Paraguay.
Herc, overhyped?
I guess it depends on who you ask, who you listen to, and that's a problem in this country. You're listening to people who are saying, we can go all the way. The U.S. can win the World Cup. They're on major networks saying these things. Why not us? Now, the coach can say it. Absolutely. Because he's the coach and he has to motivate his players. You have a responsibility, if you've got a microphone in front of you, to at some point in time just be realistic with the people. And Belgium is a team that is on the cusp of that elite level around the world, but not one of those elite teams. They're not a France. They're not a Spain. They're not a Portugal. And in this year, 2 games, aggregate scoreline of 9-3 on home soil. I went out and I said this team could play against Belgium physically, that they would give them fits. Where we mistook our evaluation of this team was psychologically and mentally what they would do if they faced adversity. They weren't ready for the moment. They weren't ready for it in 2022, and we said they were still green. They weren't ready for it here. And it's not debutantes like Alex Freeman who weren't ready. It's the likes of a Christian Pulisic, a Serginho Dest. It's your most important players, a 39-year-old Tim Ream, if you will, your team captain. In the biggest of moments, you can't allow those players to have bad performances mentally. Because on the field, some things may not go your way. But from the opening minute that Matt Friese was tested, they were in a shell. And psychologically, they were already beaten. The U.S. men's national team beat themselves today. Belgium is a very good team and tactically took it to Mauricio Pochettino and his players. But this team, this Belgium team that we saw in this tournament, is now 4 goals better than the U.S. men's national team. The U.S. men's national team gave them those 4 goals today.
Christian Pulisic, Herc brings up a good point, JJ. I mean, we were watching and 20, 30 minutes in, we were almost wondering, where is he? Has he touched the ball? Where is he? What did Belgium do so well to neutralize him, or did he just not show up?
Belgium played it really good. Belgium always tried to keep the ball. They were not panicking, even under pressure. They were always finding ways to play themselves out of the pressure points. When the US always tried to get them in, that what made them strong and good in the games before, right? Because we were seeing it when they played against Paraguay, when they played Australia. They were high up when the opinion lost the ball. They were straight there to win the ball back.
Yeah,
so
Castagna was on them.
Yeah, and this time you were able to see that Belgium had not a problem with that. The Belgium always find ways to get out, and they played it calm, and then, like we said, they find the way then to punish them with the goals, and then you're running behind, and then you're starting and that's something too. In that tournament, you were never in that position that you had to run behind, right? So that's a complete learning phase again, where you have to learn, you have to figure out, now we're down, and we have to figure out how we get to this whole thing, and yeah, go back to Christian. I think it's tough too, and I said it always before. It cannot always rely on him because he's human. He can have a bad day. Yes, he was maybe today not in the game that much and had not the best game, but it cannot always be Christian has to be on the best time. So I would not put it just on him.
Luke Bacchio and Castagna down that left-hand side really pinned Anthony Robinson, Christian Pulisic, forced them to retract. The U.S. men's national team didn't breathe until the second half when Mauricio Pochettino brought in Giovanni Reyna and shortened those distances in the center of the midfield. The first half, the distances that Tyler Adams had to try to cover, you could already see he was gassed heading into that second half. There was just too much space in that midfield. Malik Tillman couldn't operate as he usually does. Weston McKennie was nowhere to be found because those spaces weren't there. They would make the runs, but in making those runs, if you lost the ball with how good Belgium was, they were coming right back down your throat. It really put the U.S. men's national team in a defensive posture all game.
It was Belgium with a very convincing and humbling win in Seattle today. That's where our Kasey Keller was. He took in the entire game. Kasey, before we get into specifics of the game, just talk to me about what the atmosphere was like in the game throughout.
Well, the atmosphere was great, but you could tell that it got muted because of how well Belgium played from the very start. You felt that after the deflected free kick and the goal, you felt, okay, here's the moment. The crowd was just getting ready to take off, and then how quickly Belgium responded with that go-ahead goal just once again just muted the crowd, and you just kind of hoped that the start of the second half, there was going to be enough to really get going. And then, unfortunately, that terrible mistake that led to the third goal just completely took the air out of the whole stadium.
Yeah, and Kasey, that's exactly what I want to talk to you about, because the goalkeeping situation obviously has been such a discussion on our shows leading up to this, especially with you. We talked about how Matt Freese hadn't been tested at this level yet, and now I suppose we can say he has failed that test.
Well, I mean, I was optimistic when he came up with the nice save after, in the first minute. And I thought, okay, that could really kind of settle his nerves. And then obviously just, nothing to blame about the first 2 goals. But then to come up with that mistake at that key time. Yes, Belgium was great. They were good. Give them a ton of credit. But at still the 1-goal deficit, you felt anything can happen. Another deflected free kick, a mistake, something to get back into this match. And then to give Belgium that 2-goal cushion at that stage, it was just comfortable from then on. The U.S. pushed hard. They did what they could to try to get back into the match. But Belgium just showed their class. And then, obviously, with Lukaku and Doku coming in at the time they did, and then Lukaku getting that cherry on top, it just finished off a classy performance from Belgium throughout.
I know it's not your area of the pitch too, but of course, guys, I mean, the goalkeeping situation has been such a talking point heading into this. Your thoughts?
I know exactly what he's trying to do. He comes off his line. He's going to play the ball upfield with his left foot. The lane he thought was open closes, and he second guesses himself and gets his pocket picked. Tim Ream can't bail him out. He attacks the ball with the outside of his left boot. It goes in on a very weak shot. Both plays could have been preventable. They were not. Now you're down 3-1. And Case mentioned the crowd.
Yeah.
it was vital to take advantage of those momentum swings. You just equalized the game off a free kick, deflected, went in against a quality goalkeeper like Thibaut Courtois. Take advantage, settle yourself down. You're back in this game. And then 2 minutes later, Trossard down the left-hand side to Keller off a header. Again, easily preventable. Put out the fire before the cross is out. Do not get bodied by a false nine, a player who's not even a nine. And it doesn't happen. There are moments that emotionally do you in this match. And for Matt Fries, this isn't the first moment. The first time we recalled an error was exactly like this versus Haiti in Gold Cup, a minor tournament. Yet the same thing happened. Played it right to the Haiti player, right back down their throat. I do not know how preventable it was or how much more Mauricio Pochettino could have gotten him prepared. But in the worst possible moment, he had his moment.
Yeah.
And that's going to do you in.
All right, well, now I suppose after this, Jurgen, we can start to have a bit of a post-mortem and start to judge Mauricio Pochettino's tenure so far with the U.S. men's national team. Looking at bigger picture now, how would you rate what he has done with this U.S. men's national team?
Well, I think all fans and people on the outside, obviously they judge the results the most, and in a World Cup, obviously it's all black and white. It's down to knockout phase and knockout phase. How far can you go? How much can you challenge the big countries in the world? And unfortunately, we go out now in the round of 16 against a team that obviously is classy and is full of quality. But also is beatable in a certain moment. I think now when you summarize all the games the last 2 years and all the up and downs that the team experienced, then you can come to a conclusion and to give him a real judgment. It will be interesting to see now how he will talk about this game tonight, how he judges it. How he looks at his players, at his team, as the entire performance. As Hercules said rightfully, there was a sequence of mistakes all over the place. I mean, in the first half, the first 30 minutes, I've rarely seen so many passing mistakes in all areas on the field. And there was a nervousness that you can feel even in front of television, and now that leads then into more mistakes, and then it doesn't matter if it's the goalkeeper or if it's other people. Then you go down and you lose with a result 4-1 that hurts. I mean, it hurts. When you go out in a World Cup with that result, that sticks with you. It's not going away anymore, and unfortunately for none of the players and not for the coaching staff. So now obviously there's no hurry to sit down with Mauricio and discuss it from a federation point of view, and then come to a conclusion if they continue or not continue. But 4-1 is just a heavy result to move forward with, and it will be interesting to see now how he explains that game.
Yeah, 4-1 is quite a humbling scoreline, Kasey. So do we look at it as that it was just a disappointing result, this happens, or does this now make everything that we've seen at the World Cup feel more like a failure?
No, I wouldn't go failure. I think the team did, fine. I mean, they beat the teams they were supposed to beat. And I mean, I was kind of really hoping that the Turkey game was going to mean something. So, because I think that would have been a great little test to see where they were pushing forward. But no, I think it was a good tournament. It wasn't a great tournament. They needed to come up with one of those special results that they weren't able to today. I mean, Belgium looked like the Belgium we expected from day one, and that day one didn't happen. Maybe they just realized that 2-0 down against Senegal, and they just rode that momentum of coming back. I think they made some great decisions in taking some of the older players out and putting fresh legs in, but not only that, they passed like we expect Belgium to pass. The 1-2 touch combos in midfield, the wide play, they really put the U.S. on their heels from the very first minute. And the U.S. just couldn't respond. Like Jurgen said, they needed to be cleaner. They needed to be better, and they weren't. And they got humbled tonight.
They got humbled, indeed. When Mauricio Pochettino came in, JJ, he wanted to establish a recognizable identity for this U.S. men's national team. He wanted to change the culture. He wanted individual players to improve to a certain level under him. Do you feel he's done all of that?
Ooh, tough. Let's go back. I think when I look at the group stage, right? If you look at the group stage with Paraguay, you have Australia, and you have Turkey. We had clearly in mind that Turkey will be the forerunner, they will be the number one. They had a bad one then. Then you go how we played against Paraguay. I think the Paraguay we saw after the game against the US was not the same that when the US played. You can say that was the favor for because US played that good, or you can say Paraguay played that bad. Same like I feel like is against Australia. So I think that you were able to see, because we can only look at the games what we played now in the tournament and say, yes, we played a better game, a better football than we played before the tournament, what I so far saw. But he played just with that first 11 in that tournament, with the best players together. Then I have to look at it and I go, the teams we should win was Paraguay, was Australia. Then we had Bosnia, we won. But then before that, Turkey, you lost. It's a team from Europe. Now you lose against the team of Europe again from Belgium. So that Belgium team was the big test to say we made a step forward. But we don't. That is the reality. So we have to go back. All the other stuff, we said good. But we said this is now, if we win Belgium, we can say we made a step forward. We don't. We lost 4-1. We talked about it. We saw the mistakes. We under pressure. I don't know. Is it maybe the pressure that we lost so many balls that we were not able to compete with Belgium? Because is it maybe in the heads that we thought about it? We never won against them. How we should win today? So because yes, when you look at the team, we had a lot of possession, but at the end we lost 4-1 against a strong Belgium team. So if we ask now, was it good or bad? I would say, no, we are the same because we don't win against Belgium. That was the big test.
Well, that was a big test, Herc. But of course, now we knew that U.S. Soccer and Mauricio Pochettino were going to wait until after the World Cup to discuss whether or not an extension was on the cards right now. Have you seen enough evidence from what Pochettino has done with this U.S. men's national team to extend him and potentially give him another entire cycle before the next World Cup?
We were supposed to wait. Reports have come out that they've already, spoke about an extension to him. I do not know why. You want to see the results. It's a results-based business. This is the highest paid coach in the history of the U.S. men's national team. A coach they reset the market for. One of the highest paid international managers who's gotten to the same place that every coach before him has gotten. Except one. Maybe two, if you count 1930. What are we doing here? You don't need a World Cup with a round of 16 exit to evaluate 20 months worth of work. 20 months worth of this coach and his people constantly flirting with other teams, whether it's Premier League or whether it's in Spain or whatever the case may be. I don't even know if Mauricio Pochettino wants to coach the international game. I'm sure he had a lot of fun at this World Cup. And he did a lot of good things with his team in this World Cup. But nothing any other coach before him hasn't done. And yeah, you can win 3 games. You can do that. That's fine. Bruce Arena went 1-1-1 and made it to a quarterfinal. Was a blown handball away from making it to the semifinal. Jurgen Klinsmann got out of group of death. A much more difficult scenario. So if you're going to judge him, don't judge him off this World Cup. Judge him off the totality of the 20 months and what you felt, what you saw. It took us 20 months to find a starting lineup. So listen, these players today were not good enough. And ultimately, that's Pochettino's job. I don't want to put all the blame on him today. I don't think he has all the blame. But Rudi Garcia made 3 adjustments and put him in a world of difficulty. That's the reality here. Nothing has changed.
Kasey, what do you make of it? Extension, yay or nay?
Yeah, I think that's tough. I mean, because like I said, the whole idea was he was brought in to take the team to the next level, and he wasn't able to achieve that. And there was a lot of experimentation. What did we joke about, before the tournament started. The only thing consistent with Pochettino was his inconsistency. So we never really knew what we were going to expect. We were so pleasantly surprised in that first half against Paraguay, one of the best halves in American soccer history. But we also said that was unsustainable. So we were happy to see, the pragmatic approach against Australia. You won the group, and then we didn't really get to see anything against Turkey because of all the changes and that it became a friendly. And then we saw another pragmatic approach against Bosnia, which was fantastic. You got the win in that knockout stage. But we need to see something special today against what wasn't considered the best Belgian team in the last 12 years, that it was a beatable Belgian side. Rudy made some important changes. Belgium responded, and they were the better team from start to finish. The U.S. just could not come up with the performance they needed against a side. And look, if we're going to objectively look at the U.S. team, can we say this U.S. team is one of the best 8 teams left in the world? And on today's performance, we have to say no. They weren't able to take it to that next level. Mauricio wasn't, and the players weren't. And now U.S. Soccer has to make a decision on, is this the right guy going forward and be able to do that 4 years? Pochettino has to make that decision. Is he the right guy? Is this the right environment that he needs to move forward? So a lot of questions to be had by U.S. Soccer.